Hi everyone. Welcome back to Kotak Konversations GCC Spotlight. I'm Vishal, your host for today, and with me is Jaspreet. Jaspreet is partner with Grant Thornton. While Jaspreet has been at the forefront for getting GCCs to India for last 9 years, he spent about 20 years as overall experience working with names like Grant Thornton, EY, and PwC. Welcome, Jaspreet.
Thank you, Vishal, for having me here.
So, in this episode, we will talk about ecosystem partners' role of getting GCCs into India from ideation to entry and how do they help them scale the GCCs. So, Jaspreet, I'll go straight to point. Everyone today is talking about GCCs. What do you see? Is it a one-time phenomena or is it there to stay?
Thank you, Vishal. I think a very interesting question. And a lot of people are speculating whether it's a one-time phenomena. Is it going to stay here? What's the future of the GCC industry? So you'll be surprised, GCC, though, maybe in the limelight for the last 10 years, but the first GCC in India was set up in Bangalore way back in 1995. So GCCs have been around, right? Mm-hmm. And I think given the unique inflection point as an economy where we are today in terms of skills, in terms of technology, GCCs are going to stay. It's on us. How do we channelize, like you said, right from ideation to setup to helping them evolve in our country? It's on us, the entire ecosystem. How do we make this more successful and take it to the next level of growth?
Okay. So when they are coming into India, say for our viewers and listeners, so if I am a global firm and I've decided to come into India, what are the steps that are required for a company to set up a GCC in India, and where all ecosystem players come in handy for them?
Oh, I think if I were to break it down into 4-5 different concrete steps that they need to take, every step they need an ecosystem partner. Mm-hmm. Whether once I have decided that a global firm has decided that they'll set up a GCC in India, where do they go to? Which location do they go to? So they need a location strategy assessment. They need regulatory approvals. They need compliances. They need cost structure. They need bankers, right? How do they bank in the Indian ecosystem? Sure. So do you go to Bangalore because the availability of tech talent is better? Do you go to Hyderabad where you'll see a lot of pharma GCCs coming up, or go to Pune where you'll see a lot of auto ancillary GCCs coming up? What kind of scales, etc.? I think at every stage you need a ecosystem partner. Just for an example, to set up a organization in India, you need about 100 plus compliances, right? Yeah. And you need somebody to not only do those compliances once when you're setting up, but also to maintain those compliances year on year. Banking, 24/7 you need. Correct. Banking, right? So you need to have access to the right kind of ecosystem to be able to first set up and then run a successful GCC in India.
Okay. So you as Grant Thornton are involved at a regulatory stage, or you even guide them if they were to say require infrastructure? Talent is the main raw material for them, people. How do you guide them in this journey?
So, the discussion starts much before they have started thinking about India. It's also a lot of companies, it's also about going to them proactively and saying, have you explored the idea of moving to India? Because these are the 3-4 different distinct advantages that we bring to the table.
So you cover them at the headquarters?
At the headquarters level. Unfortunately, today also, almost while the balance has shifted, what was 100% headquartered decision making maybe 10 years ago is still 60-40. 60% of the decisions are still taken at the headquarter level. So you go to them, talk to them, saying, let's go to India. Then where do you go to? How many people would you move to India? Or how many people do you need in India? What kind of skill sets? What processes will move to India? So GCCs earlier were looked as like a low cost center somewhere in, far east of the world.
Yes.
Is now actually looked at more like a branch office, more like another office in just another city, but giving much more value system. That is why you'll hear a new term which is emerged, which is called GVCs,
What is that?
which is global value centers, right?
Okay.
From global capability centers, a lot of GCCs are moving up the value chain and moving into GVC concept or a center of excellence.
So then are you saying what earlier people used to say a lot more as cost as a main reason for looking at countries like India? Are they now looking at even value as tech and other things to take these decisions, or is cost still a major decision factor?
So cost is still a factor. Let's not pride ourselves by saying, that we've moved the needle completely. The needle has moved, yes. 50% the needle is now moved to value creation, strategy, technology. I'll give you a couple of examples. The planes that we fly in, the autopilot software, 50% of that is designed in Bangalore. A lot of pharma companies for their cutting edge R&D work, back-end work, are using cities like Hyderabad. So there is definitely a value creation in terms of center of excellence, right? I think there's a NASSCOM study which says that almost 25% of senior leadership roles within GCCs or within organizations that have GCCs have moved to those GCC centers, which says a lot about going up in the value chain. But yes, it will take time, and cost still is a very, very big factor which influences the first discussion on moving to India. How do you leverage that to show other value pieces is the entire game.
But then about people, if this is also becoming a lot more value add, do we have enough people availability of skilled people, or we need to even think about upskilling, reskilling to keep ourselves right in that frame?
So, bit of a personal thought here. I still think that yes, availability of people is not a challenge in India, but availability of right kind of skilled labor, especially the new emerging tech, AI, ML, RPA, robotics, is still a challenge, right? We can do much better. And the reason why I say this is, as a country, right, if you look at what we've done in IT services, phenomenal work in the last 20-25 years, right? Almost 60% of the global banks work on a software which was developed by an Indian company, right? How do we take that movement or that momentum into GCCs is also going to, to pivot back to your second last question, the future of GCCs, right? If we only play that cost arbitrage game, don't upscale, don't rescale our people, then unfortunately GCCs will become another industry which could have been and has not reached or not, attained the full momentum that it could have. I feel that we are at a very, very strong inflection point. If we ride this wave and we become a skill-based GCC or a center of excellence-based GCC, whether it is cybersecurity, automation, AI, ML, or any of the new age techs, I think, our dream of becoming a Viksit Bharat would be achieved much more faster.
Okay. So you're saying obviously the upskilling and reskilling is required.
Is
you
definitely.
Have to keep, that's the mantra for
That's
any
the mantra
industry,
for everybody
any
today.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. That holds for all of us also.
Yes, absolutely. Another thing that is happening is a lot of GCCs are now actually tying up with education institutes,
Okay.
like the ISBs of this world, to create the next wave of employees, right? They're running like a 6-month program, which actually is very similar to from a classroom to employability, right? Where they're being taught skills around tech, around core business operations that we discussed, so that once those 6 months are over, the person is very easily fits into the culture of the GCC and has the right skills to work in a high demand, high pressure situation, since you are also supporting global operations.
With global timings.
With global timings, right? And a lot of GCs are also on that piece actually following the sun model, you know. So as the sun rises and sets, they have got GCC centers following the same pattern across the globe. So they have a lot of GCCs, or a lot of organizations now have GCC centers in all the 4-5 major time zones, right from having a center within US to coming to Europe to coming to India, Asia, and going to Australia, so that they have whatever are their core business operations, they are available 24/7, and they call it follow the sun model.
That's interesting. So, what do you see when global firms are setting up these GCCs in India? At least I am a firm believer, cultures make or break companies. Are they able to even imbibe the same culture when they are setting up GCCs outside their home countries? How is that happening?
Very interesting question. And what we've seen is even as basic as look and feel of the office is very similar to the global office. The culture, tenants tend to come and, you know, imbibe the same kind of culture. If you today look at GCCs in India, there are organizations that have 50,000 employees in India itself, which could be probably their second or third biggest people base outside of their home country, right? That's the advantage. And obviously, as Indians, culture is one of the big tenets that everybody wants to work with, right? You want to work in an organization where you're respected, etc., etc. So also there are so many global people when the GCC is being set up who actually are transferred to India or take a deputation to India for 2 years, 3 years, so
they are also spending
time, so that it, as I said, it's just another office outside of the main country, right?
So they are not looking at it just like a capability center, but like a branch
office, which could be anywhere, which could be in
or like any other global
corporate. It could be in South Africa, it could be in Guatemala, it could be in Japan, anywhere in the world.
But since you mentioned about tier 2, tier 3 cities, and you said cost is still a consideration, are you seeing a geography expanding in India beyond a Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad? Is that expanding, or it will continue to be around those 3 markets largely?
3-4 things have happened, right? One is our honorable finance minister in the last budget spoke about tier 2, tier 3 cities getting grants in setting up GCCs, right? Though it is left to a lot of state governments to decide those policy pieces, etc. But there are a lot of GCCs that have now come up in Bhubaneswar, Guwahati, Chandigarh, Jaipur. I believe tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities are probably at a tipping point where if they improve their infra, they will have massive success. Look at Dehradun. The availability of talent, stickiness of people, less attrition, better living conditions, if I were to use that word, less time on the road, everything points to a better working condition there.
But is talent there?
Go to any tier 2 city. Look at the plethora of engineering colleges there, right? It is the same curriculum. The problem we had was, for example, anybody in south of India graduates from an engineering college, where does he want to go? He wants to go to Bangalore or Hyderabad. In north, we have the same problem. Anybody in north graduates, where does he want to go? He wants to Gurgaon, right? Why can't we develop tier 2 cities where there are very, very good, like a Chandigarh, there are very decent engineering colleges there. If we give them access, if we give GCCs access from a policy perspective, etc., I think it's a win-win for everybody. It's a win-win for 3 things. It's a win-win for employees who stay there with families. It's a win-win for the state, it's a win-win for the GCC and the country.
Yeah,
We
and
have
you said
10
stability is high.
Stability is super higher, and we'll have probably 10 more hubs like Bangalore spreading up all over the country.
Okay. I thought still finding talent beyond these tech-driven markets may not be as easy.
So again, personal example, we've opened up our IKCC center in Dehradun
For Grant Thornton.
for Grant Thornton. And when we opened it, it was in about 3 years, we've scaled it to about 1,000 odd people. And the kind of talent that we have, the kind of stickiness that we have, the attrition there is low single digits for a consulting firm.
Great. So I think then some of the people of these downtown markets can also continue to stay with their family.
Yes, absolutely. Otherwise, not everybody will have to, move to a Mumbai, Pune, Delhi, Bangalore in search of better jobs.
And when do you see India's role changing from a delivery center to a decision center?
Interesting question. Let's look at why did we become global delivery centers hub, right? It is, I think, when the Y2K.com boom happened, right? I think we were the early adopters of the entire software wave that the entire world was going through, or the technology wave that the world was going through. I thought that was a point where probably almost all our educational institutes picked up technology as a course, ran multiple courses. We had professional courses run by various organizations also, which helped GCCs come to India and see an abundance of tech talent, right? That is how we became global delivery centers, right? And then they understood that we had great language skills, we had great technical skills, we were decently hardworking compared to the rest of the world. So that was a very sweet spot for a lot of global organizations, right? To run massive development and delivery centers, both out of India. I think if we have to move to the decision making phase, right? I think there is much more than technology that a GCC can do, right? You can be it core operations, be it supply chain. One of a large FMCG companies has a GCC in Hyderabad. They want to move their entire global supply chain to India.
Okay.
And this, we're talking about like 100,000 people that support the global supply chain today. Now imagine if that work comes to India.
So decision making.
That decision making comes to India, right? Similarly, probably the largest credit card company in the world, their entire anti-fraud systems are run from India.
Yes.
Right? And hence the entire decision making is in India. I think the more we get to core business, technology leverage, yes, superb, excellent, we've ticked all the boxes. Now, if we can go to core business and say, you know what, we'll run your supply chain from India. We will run your entire hiring across the world from India. Or we'll run your core business operations, research from India. Imagine you go to a university. Every university gets global grants, right? And what if we say that you give 20% of that grant to India and we'll send up like a global research center for you? I think once we start doing that, that is when it will again elevate the three pieces. It will elevate the GCC, it will elevate our country also, and then we'll be, no longer a low-cost center somewhere in other parts of the world.
Okay. So you said some of the pieces, decision making can move with that.
Right.
It is to do with the functions that finally.
So look at our growth, right? Technology was first, then came ancillary functions like finance, HR, etc., which became like a global back office for the member firm, right? Now, if I have to evolve in value, create value for the global firm, create value for the country, for our people, I'll have to up my game also. How do I up my game is by entering core business operations, right? The moment those core business operations start moving to India, people will start seeing value, And that's how we'll create value, not for 2 years, not for 3 years, for long term.
Understood. Understood. So we discussed about geographical growth.
Right.
As per me, we have about a quarter of the Fortune 500 companies in India. Where do you see the next phase of growth? Is it industry specific, or what can drive the next phase of growth?
Interesting question. I'd like to probably attack it from 2-3 various perspectives. Number one is definitely industry, right? Where we saw a lot of IT technology boom. Now is fintech, manufacturing, AI/ML. I think now we've seen more diverse industries. A lot of pharma companies, GCCs are in India, FMCG companies setting up centers in India in a huge way, right? So that is one aspect. The second pivot is, since there are only a handful of Fortune 500 companies today, fortunately every large organization outside India that you go and talk to today, the question has changed. Earlier the question was, why should I go to India? Now the question is this the right time to go to India? And if yes, how do I go to India? So that's another wave that's coming towards us. As I said, it's about reskilling, infra, a lot of moving parts. Once we have that, the entire ecosystem piece that you said, if we can better the entire ecosystem piece, have better policies, I think this could probably be our top 3-4 industries in the next 3-4 years.
But since you said now the question is about why or when in India, I'm sure there are other countries also who are trying to set up these centers, because this, like you also said, is a area of growth. What should India do to keep itself ahead of its peers in this overall piece?
I would say you put me in a corner. There are obviously lots of countries who are riding the GCC wave. If I look at US as the base country, for example, Mexico, there's a concept called near shore. Yeah. We are probably offshore. Near shore is Mexico. You go down to Latin America, Guatemala, there are tons and tons of GCCs coming up there. Okay. If I move to Asia, Philippines started like we did, but probably they've lost the plot a little bit. Eastern Europe, anybody today who wants to work in tech or opening up a center in tech is going to countries like Poland.
Okay.
They have the same advantages today that we have: the availability of talent, technology resources, understanding of technology, and a very similar cost arbitrage as compared to some other parts of Europe. So if India were to, keep the momentum or keep the advantage, I think number one is a lot of state governments have started coming up with their own incentive schemes called the GCC policy. I think that's number one. Development of tier 2 cities to become GCC hubs, very important. Number 3, and I think the most important piece in the jigsaw puzzle, is how do we upskill our available talent to go from a IT tech based job to enter into either advanced technology, emerging tech areas like blockchain, AI/ML, or get into core business operations.
Okay.
Very interesting, right? Apart from the growth of GCCs, I think there are few challenges that still exist. If you have to ride the wave, like you said, to a value-based country offering GCC services, I think we need to probably relook at our entire regulatory framework. How do we, look at the problem of talent attrition, skilling, etc., and take some burden away from the entire tier 1 cities and make it a much more national game rather than top 4, top 5 cities playing. And obviously the biggest one is, how do we align to the culture of the global GCCs that are already operating? What can we learn from them and adapt quickly for the next set of GCCs coming in?
Understood.
So Vishal, I want to ask you a question, right? With so much talk around GCCs, everybody wants to enter India. Every single week you pick up a newspaper, there will be a story about GCCs. How is a bank today, looking at GCCs, and what do you see yourself doing differently in the next 2 years from a GCC perspective?
So this question, Jaspreet, is very close to my heart. I would put it differently. At Kotak, we look at global corporates. We have a focus segment which covers global corporates and its subsidiaries. Yeah. We have a team which specializes on the coverage of these companies. When these companies are ideating to come to India, we give them a regulatory guideline framework to come to India. When they have entered, we give them solutions around transaction banking, working capital, growth capital. When they have grown, Kotak as a firm have a strength as a franchise. We help them at the growth stage. Raw material for these people, which is people. We have solutions around people. What is also interesting at Kotak, our ethos of a belief of a tech company within the banking. And we have tech-based solutions because all these companies are tech-focused companies. We have solutions for their transaction banking around tech, which gives them seamless solution when they operate.
Very interesting to know about the tech piece. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jaspreet. I think it was wonderful to have you. And to our viewers, stay tuned for more.
Thank you, Vishal, for having me here.
No, it's our pleasure. Thank you so much for coming.
I think this is the most fun-loving, free-flowing discussion that I've ever had on a GCC, an industry which is probably going to be the sunshine and take us towards a Viksit Bharat. Thank you.
Thank you.